Next week, we'll be discussing Speedy. Tom, how was your watch?
I like this movie a lot. Harold Lloyd gets a back seat, and everybody knows this. Harold Lloyd gets a back seat to Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, even though he made more movies than the two of them combined. And he is a somewhat different comedian. He is a bit early on in his career in the Chaplin shadow. He has a character very early on. His one reeler is called Lonesome Luke, who is it looks like a Charlie Chaplin ripoff, a Tramp ripoff, and he broke out on his own once he sort of found the glasses character, the horn rimmed glasses character. I don't know if this is his best movie. Safety Last always seems to get that designation, and that seems to make sense to me. However, in terms of our block, the that era block, I think this movie captures an image of New York from the 1920s, in spite of the fact that it's really itself sort of nostalgic for an older New York, but so much of New York you see on screen that actually was real, not just a set. And so for our purposes for this block, I felt this movie captured the city not only literally, but it also had that kind of boisterous energy as well as a respect for locality. And we lose a little bit of that today in Manhattan. I mean, it's still true to some degree, but especially back then, the city is not just this thing stepping out onto the world stage, but it's also this collection of localities. And I felt the movie captured that aspect of the era. And I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys next week. Chris, how was your first watch?
I really enjoyed this movie. This is actually the first silent film I've ever watched from beginning to end. I've, of course, seen snippets of all kinds of, Charlie Chaplin work, but this is the first one that I've seen from beginning to end that I sat down and watched in one take. And I must admit, really enjoyed it. And then to go off what you said, I really liked that peek into an era of Manhattan that I hadn't seen before, other than in like dramatic, we're going to recreate this. This looked real. And I did really enjoy it, and I look forward to talking about it as well. What about you, KJ?
Yeah, this was the first time I had heard of Speedy. And this is the first time I had heard of Harold Lloyd, Tom. Like you say, I had no idea. You could kind of tell he must have been famous. Like he knew what he was doing on screen. It was not his first time on screen. It looked like he had standard shticks that he was doing. But I watched the first 10 minutes and I was cracking up pretty good. I was really enjoying it. But then it kind of got into a sitcom rhythm, it felt like to me. And I could just hear a sitcom laugh track playing every time a joke was punctuated. So it made it a little bit less enjoyable. But I think that's me, audience, not Harold. So I think you'll enjoy it. And Tom, like saying, New York looked beautiful. Coney Island looked amazing. Dangerous, but amazing. How about you, Nick?
This was also my first watch, and in fact, my first watch of anything that Harold Lloyd was in or did. And I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was not a, or I should say, he's not as slapsticky as Chaplin, but you could see that there might have been some influences, or that's just how these were done in that time frame. But I did enjoy it, and just like we were saying about the city, I've mentioned this in other episodes. I really like when movies are time capsules of a certain period of time, and that was a New York in the flesh, like Chris said, not a recreation of what New York looked like back then. That was it. And what I found really interesting was when you saw parts of the city that you could actually like see now. It was really cool. And of course, things that have changed with the, horseless trolleys not even being around, let alone a horse-drawn one. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about this one next week. Speedy is available on Criterion Channel and on HBO Max at the time of this recording.